It just dawned on me that I was wrong about the name Selko. Selko survived the Balkan Wars in a city that was surrounded and under siege. And I don't know whether that was in Bosnia or Serbia. I think it was in Bosnia. But it was back when Bosnia, Serbia, was it Herzegovina, and Croatia were involved in a war. And Selko is the guy that survived that war. Ferfel, Ferfal, Ferfel, Fernando, I don't know, Aguilar or something like that. Ferfal, Ferfal is how you could find him on YouTube, and he's written a book. He was the guy that survived from the collapse of Venezuela. So I had that wrong. Selko's the one that survived the Balkan War in a town that was under siege, and I forget the name of the town. And Ferfel is the guy that survived the collapse of Venezuela. Okay, I have one more side to do at 320, and then I will have 3 knives sanded up to 320. We'll be back. Good Sunday morning, y'all. This is actually Saturday, but you'll see this on Sunday. It's freezing in here. It's actually warm outside, so it's going to take a little time for the sun to heat this building up. In the meantime, I got my little buddy heater going, full blast, and an electric heater going, full blast. And the fan on behind you, kind of blowing the warmth around. Oh, lordy, lordy. I had someone leave a comment, and I'm not like, this is nothing against that person. That person brought up an important thing to talk about. And what he said was that basically God will provide for us, and hoarding is wrong. And I got to wondering, what does a person consider hoarding? You know, to some, if you're really following God's tenets, T-E-N-E-T-S, tenets. Do you go to the store and do you buy food for a whole week, or do you go every day and buy that day's meal? I mean, if you buy for the whole week, that's considered hoarding. Wouldn't somebody who cans their groceries, cans their vegetables to get them through a winter, isn't that hoarding? In a sense, it is, of course. So why does someone putting food away to get them through times of financial crisis or a societal collapse or the end of your job, for that matter, why is that considered hoarding, and why is that bad? It's no different than saving money for your retirement. Is saving money for your retirement, is that hoarding? It's a very odd point of view, and it's exactly what I was saying in my comment on that Facebook thing, that people will cherry pick out of the Bible things that support an opinion they have, and they completely lose its context if they don't include what's before and what's after that. So, you know, one person saying I'm hoarding, I would ask that person, do you save money? Do you have a bank account? Do you go to the store when you're hungry and buy enough food to feed you for that day, or do you buy a week's or a month's worth of groceries? So what's hoarding to one person is just common sense to another person. And then there's the subject of gold and silver. I mentioned in my video yesterday that I have just a handful of silver. Nothing, you know, I could leave it out, and if somebody stole it, it wouldn't be that big a deal, because I don't have enough to worry about. And I got a lot of flack in the past for talking about gold and silver. I don't have any, but I see the benefits of it. I'd say I don't have any. Like I said, I got a few pieces, but I don't have any gold. I could never afford gold. But throughout history, gold and silver have had value when paper money, fiat currency is rather something that's new. I mean, new in the last 100 years. There's never before been a type of currency that wasn't backed by something of value. And that's the kind of currency we have now, is the promise that it's backed by something of value. Well, what is our currency backed by right now? A promise. And what is happening to our currency? The Fed, the Federal Reserve, which is neither federal or hold anything in reserve, when they need money, they print it. They don't work for it. There's not something of value that has grown so they can print money based on that something of value. They just simply print more money and push it into the economy, which makes the money that you and I have worth less and less and less and less. That's what inflation is. Inflation is your dollar buying less. The dollar, let's say you made $10 an hour 20 years ago and you make $10 an hour now. 20 years ago, $10 an hour, you could afford to buy a week's worth of groceries and pay your light bill. Well, now $10 an hour will get you a motel room for a night. And that's inflation. And when your fiat currency doesn't keep up with inflation, that's when people suffer. And that's when people turn to other means of storing value besides the dollar. Silver and gold have been a currency for thousands of years. The Sumerians, from 3100 to 2500 BC, used silver coins as a form of value, and they traded with it. Judas gave up Jesus for 30 silver coins. So precious metals, and I'm saying precious metals, there's platinum and there's others, but I'm saying gold and silver, the stuff you and I have quick, easy access to, has always had some sort of stored value that everybody recognized. And when nothing else held any value, they were willing to take silver and gold. And that's the same in our own depression in the, in the 20s and 30s? People stopped using the dollar and started using silver coins because those had intrinsic value based on the silver content in the coin. Because they used to make coins with silver content back then, some as low as 40 and some as high as 90. Let's see, the most recent was Venezuela. No, Argentina. Yeah, the most recent was Venezuela, but before that was Argentina. Argentina was a modern first world country. Everybody was middle class, or, there was no poor people because their dollar was strong. And what was it? Not the Bolivar. I think the Bolivar is in Venezuela. I forget was it a peso? I don't know. But Argentina's economy went south, and they're still not recovered. So people in Argentina resorted to using silver, gold, jewelry, diamonds to trade. I got water leaking out of my eye. Just that time of the year. 1 second, let me get something to wipe my eye with. Oh, Lordy. So, I don't know what the animosity towards people who think that gold and silver hold a place in our future is. It's just very, very curious. And you get it on forums more than anywhere else. And the very first comment on yesterday's video was about hoarding and how it's, God warns us against hoarding. Well, there's just as many passages where God tells you to store olive oil, fill your lamps, bring your sword and purse. The people who are against violence, well, isn't there a passage in the Bible where we're to turn our plowshares into swords? Sell your cloak and buy one? I mean, that's what I'm saying. People cherry pick passages that will support their personal opinion, and it's just wrong to do that unless you're going to include all the information before that, the context it was meant in, and all the information after that. I'm at 220, by the way. I don't know how much I want to do today, but I'm just going to work it at a slow pace and enjoy the day. It's a very sunny day, and if it warms up a little more, I may go out and shoot my pellet gun at some targets. Venezuela right now. Okay, I think Venezuela is the bolivar. And their bolivar is worth like $1,200 US. And their inflation is at like 100,000%. So people in people in Venezuela, they stopped using the Venezuelan bolivar and started demanding people use American dollars. And lots of stores would have signs out saying that they would barter or take American dollars or euros, but they would no longer take the bolivar. And one shopkeeper said, here's why he doesn't take the bolivar. Let's say he buys a pound of meat for 10,000 bolivars and he sells it for 14, and then the next day wants to buy to replace what he sold. It's now 15,000 bolivars. So he didn't even make enough by selling the meat he had to buy the next bit of meat. So yeah, I get it. So this was an article I read, and so people are taking jewelry, gold, silver, diamonds, anything that holds intrinsic value. And you know what that is. That's gold, silver, jewelry, even silverware, depending on what content in silver is in it. And I think it's written on it. I just heard my cat get on the roof. All right, I'm going to turn one heater off. It's starting to warm up in here, so I'm going to save my propane and turn that off. And just let the electric heater go for a little while longer. Plus, I'm moving around, so my body's warming up. All right, let me give this a real good look. Still see something right here I got to get out. All right, turn it over. Do the spine. Yeah, in Argentina, people were trading chickens and vegetables, and there was definitely a barter system, and it was like it took over overnight. Uh, and that started in 2001 or 2002, I believe. So, and Argentina is still not out of the woods, but people have become accustomed to finding things that people agree on have value, and there's still a barter system, and they're surviving. There is a guy named Selko that wrote books, and he's got a website. I forget what the website is, but it's SELCO. Selko is his name. That's what he goes by. And he describes what happened, and it's not, it is not pretty. People turned into animals just when the economy failed in Argentina. People turned into just what we are afraid would happen here. In one of his articles, he wrote, even people you knew all your life turned into murderous animals overnight. He said, even priests. So, it's all well and good to say what you would or wouldn't do in times of want, in times of need. But I think until you're actually faced with hunger or homelessness or, a child that needs medicine and you know where to get it, I think people are capable of doing a lot more than they think they're capable of when they're sitting in their nice warm home. Hello, baby. You ready to get up there in the sunshine? Come on. When people are sitting in their nice warm home, you want the sun on you, or you want me to close that blind over? Okay. It's real easy to say, yeah, I would never do this or never do that. But when your belly's rumbling and your child's crying, your values may change. So, I do know this, that as an old guy, I've lived a full life and I'm happy with, I'm far less likely to do something out of desperation than young people would be, because, if I starve to death, okay, I'm okay with that. I've had a good life. Maybe somebody's dog will eat me. I don't know. I still serve some purpose. And, I just mentioned a word that triggered a memory. I have been getting phone call after phone call all day long. And it's these scammers. And what they'll do is they'll get a local number from your area. Like my local number is a 318 prefix. Even though I live in Texas, which here is a 903, but my phone has a 318 prefix because, I was in Louisiana. So I keep getting numbers calling me from the 318 prefix. And the only reason I answer them is because I have appointments coming up and doctors calling me with test results and stuff like that. So I don't want to miss one of them calls. So I answer the call, and 99% of the time, this is all day long, it'll be somebody trying to get me to get off my Medicare and Part D and get on their insurance, XYZ. There's 100 of them out there. And it's a cold call. And they'll make all kinds of promises. And what they want is your Medicare number so they can steal money from the Medicare system and take your insurance and give you some substandard, terrible insurance that covers nothing what Medicare and Part D cover. And I got to thinking about purpose. And I wasn't, I never thought of myself as having a glamorous job when I was a long-haul trucker. But I was proud of the fact that I felt like my suffering, and that's what trucking is, you suffer for long periods of time. It's either suffering loneliness or suffering lack of sleep. but it's suffering. You suffer horrible food around angry people. And just take a ride on the interstate, and people behave differently when they got a steering wheel in their hand than they do when you're face to face. Just like keyboards turns everybody into there's a reason there's a term called keyboard warrior. Well, I always felt like I served a pretty good purpose. I felt like I was putting into the world as a truck driver, and my suffering was benefiting people, benefiting the world. And I got to thinking about purpose. These people who cold call you for the sole purpose of trying to scam you out of your insurance. And their purpose, and sometimes they're Americans, and sometimes they have accents you can't even understand. So their purpose is not to put anything good into the world, not to provide a needed, necessary service that helps people. Their purpose is to rip you off. And what a mindset to go somewhere for 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day, intending to steal from people. And when you go to bed at night, what do you think about? The people that you stole from, or do you think about the few dollars that you made from your theft? I'll never understand that, how anybody could devote that much time and effort to stealing from people. And we've all seen, stupid criminals who, man, if they just put a little effort into a job, or to find a way to actually bring good into the world, yeah, it causes me to, when I get them phone calls, I get really mad. The only people that would give their medical card number is people who aren't very smart, or people who have aged and they're just beyond the ability to recognize scammers and to keep their medical card number to themselves. And anyway, we just went through this. My wife changed her Part D, and we're afraid to open up anything that says they're from the Social Security Department because there's so many scams. So she goes right to the Social Security website to see if they have messages for us, instead of opening up something that is claiming to be from Social Security. Yeah, the technology age has opened up a whole new avenue for scammers and thieves and horrible people to scam folks. And there's a lot of older folks, even older than Charlie and I, who are completely not prepared for the digital age, where people have access to you and they have your name and it makes it sound like they know you. And I actually had somebody call me and they knew my name and they knew my ailments, which is frightening. That they had that much personal info about me, so much that they knew my physical ailments, and wanted me to buy stuff from them. And maybe it's just me, but never in a million freaking years would I ever do business with somebody that cold called me, got my phone number, and called me without my permission. Never in a million years would I do that. But unfortunately, there are enough people that would, that this continues. And I think 90% of their business is from people who just don't understand that they're being scammed. I'll tell you a story. I'll make it quick. Like I have a quick story. Come on. probably around 2020, 2019. You know, we're still getting used to the internet and all that. And I had someone call me, and it was a credit card company. That's what they said. And they wanted to reward my good credit with another credit card at a much lower interest rate. And they wanted me to transfer my credit from this card to their new card. And I almost fell for it. Charlie was the one that stopped me. And here's the reason. The guy sounded so polite and so businesslike and professional that, and then he said, well, your old card should start with, and he gave the numbers of that particular card. So in my mind, I was looking at my card. He knew the beginning of my, which I now know that for this particular company, they all start with those numbers. So back then I didn't know that. So I'm almost to the point where I give him my credit card number. And Charlie, she's over there telling me don't do it, not do it. And I listened to her. I said, okay, you know what, mister, why don't you mail me this offer, and I'll go from there, because I'm kind of having second thoughts about this. And I hung up. And I went and I blocked that number. Well, they called me from another number right away. And it was somebody else's voice. And tried to convince me that they were legitimate. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, if you're legitimate, you wouldn't go to this effort to get me to give you my credit card number. So now I'm pretty sure it's a scam. So I hung up and I blocked that number. And they called me over and over from several different numbers, and I blocked them all. And that's how close I got to being scammed. So, you know, I think most people from my era have a trust in them that people from this area don't have. And it's, just the way the world has progressed. And it's taken a lot of getting used to be suspicious of every single person that comes in contact with you and wants personal information. Let me tell you how suspicious I've gotten. Now when I see a commercial and there's a woman in the commercial, I'm thinking, that's a freaking dude. That's a dude in a dress. I guarantee you. Look at that Adam's apple. And, it may or may not be, but now they try to slip these cross-dressers, or whatever you call them, they try to slip them into every commercial so you'll subconsciously be more accepting of this. I think. That's my personal view. I hate to throw away this much sandpaper, so I'm going to turn this around. See if I can get a few more rubs out of it. Yeah. So, I am suspicious even of commercials now. We live in an era where you cannot let your guard down for 1 second because there's scammers everywhere. I had another thought about precious metals. All right, let me give this a good look here. Right up here. I'm glad I looked. Right up here, I got a few scratches. So here's my thought. There's lots of talk about CBDCs, central bank digital currency. I think, me being a suspicious sort now, I think what they'll do is they'll offer that to you and cash. And just like when people get used to the CBDCs, they're going to pull cash out and force you to use CBDCs only. Then, when that happens, they have ultimate, absolute, complete 100% control over what you buy and sell. They can stop you from having access to your money. They can stop you from paying your rent. Let's say you said something against the government. Where are they doing this? Oh yeah, the country we buy everything from. called social credit score. I'm sure you're all aware of that. I'm not telling you nothing new. But if you don't think this country would love to have that kind of control over its people, I mean, look when Charlie Victor 19er was going around, they just removed content from people who questioned it. Just removed comment, blocked people, even doctors. Doctors were had their credentials taken from them when they had an opposing opinion or a piece of information that they wanted to share with the public. Facebook was really bad about it. Twitter was terrible about it. All right. Now I'm going to do the spine in this direction because I did it diagonally. And then this knife is done with 220. So let's just say that the government goes through with this CBDC and you no longer have access to cash, and they decide they don't want you to buy ammo or another Freedom Seed launcher. You can't spend it on that. It's as simple as pressing a few buttons and you can only buy gas and groceries. But if there was an underground economy, an underground economy that uses, I don't know, precious metals, you can still buy what you want, what you needed, and that is exactly what they're doing in Argentina and Venezuela. So in my opinion, that's another reason to hold on to some sort of something that has intrinsic value, even if it's guns and ammo. You know, I think in certain times, ammo will be have some kind of value as well. Oh, that's another thing that fella Selco said, that neighborhoods banded together, and encircled their neighborhoods with trees and junk cars, and nobody could come in except one way, and it was necessary because there was kidnappings and theft, petty theft. They would steal food, your gas, whatever. And I don't think humans are humans no matter what country they live in. And I don't think our country would be any different if people were suddenly without food, water, medicine, clothing. So, how's your day going? I might be the only one that feels this way. Actually, I'm not. My wife feels the same way. That I just feel like life as we know it is going to change soon. There's so many things going on all over the world, and much of it we have a hand in, or the cause of, or exacerbating, or trying to steer a conflict one way or another. And I would like to, part of me wants to say it's something new, but it's not. Remember when Kennedy got assassinated? How many people at this point believe Lee Harvey Oswald was the only person that was involved? If you do any kind of research about this, there were too many things added up. Too many things happened, such as Secret Service agents told to dismount and get off Kennedy's car as it went through the road, went down the road in Dallas, so somebody could have a clear shot. And doctors that first examined him said there was 2 bullet wounds. Then there was the Warren Commission that did this long investigation, and they determined that sure enough, it was just one shooter, and that was the end of it. So they thought. Well, fast forward another, 10 years, and Nixon takes us off the gold standard, and overnight, our gold-backed currency becomes worth less and less overnight. Nixon desperately wanted to get us out of the Vietnam War. Now, you can say what you want about Nixon, but Nixon was reelected by the largest margin to this date in history. So people like Nixon. I was too young to know much about Nixon. I was 11, 12, 14 years old, his second term, I don't remember. So it had to be a second term, because he wanted to end the Vietnam War. And the war hawks, just like today, and who are the war hawks? The people that benefit from war. The people who somehow know to invest in this stock because that stock is going to be, that company is going to be making bombs for the government, and suddenly the stock goes through the roof. And suddenly a congressman who was worth $200,000 is now worth $2 million. Those are the war hawks, the people that profit and benefit from war. Well, Nixon wanted to end the Vietnam War. Said so many times. So what did they do? They set him up with this Watergate thing. And they won. He resigned. And who replaced him? They got to pick who replaced him. Who was that? Gerald R. Ford one of the key members on the Warren Commission. All connected. Weapons of mass destruction. Do we need to say anything more? There were none. Muammar Gaddafi decided he was going to go on a gold-backed currency to buy and sell his oil, What happened to Muammar Gaddafi? That's the Libyan guy. They started an uprising, took him out of power, killed him. I'm not the only one that sees this. I'm just a stupid guy with no high school diploma and a low IQ. If I can see this kind of stuff, smart people can. Nobody wants to talk about it, though. Everybody's afraid. And me, I'm too old and I got too many things going wrong to be afraid anymore. Like I say, I've had a good life. I don't want to leave my wife to face a very hard world, but I'm not afraid to. I'm not afraid to go. All right, I'm going to turn this heat off behind me. No, I'm going to turn the fan off. Just give me a second. Oh. Starting to warm up in here now. And I'm going to turn the heat down to just a little bit. There we go. If you heard that, I'm sorry. I can't control the noise this makes. That's why I don't go to places very often where there's a lot of people close by me, because it's embarrassing. Oh, I see some divots that I got to get out of there. The scratches and little divots you see easier and easier as you progress in grits. All right, I'm going to go ahead and use my drill on this and then flip it over just so I can call myself done with this. I'm actually starting to sweat now. That warmed up quick. One of these, two of them are, one of them is definitely spoken for. Another one is maybe spoken for. He wants to see the end result. And the third one is not spoken for. And I have a piece of wood that I've had for a while. It's Buckeye burl, stabilized. And I think I'm going to use that because I'm really curious to what's going to look like all polished up. This is the Buckeye Burl. It's a light colored wood with a little bit of figure in it, and when it polishes up, I think it'll really look nice. And I've had it for a while, laying around. I just haven't found anything that I wanted to use it on yet. So I think I'll put it on this. Alrighty. This is the one where it was right in this ricasso. There's just a microscopic low area. And to get the scratches sanded out, what you have to do is sand all the area around it and lower it down to the divot. And then it takes a whole lot of rubbing to do that. Yeah, the older I get, the more I see the world for what it really is. And, you know, our true nature, humans' true nature, comes out the more powerful people are, the more corrupt they are. And when I was growing up, you used to have faith in your government. Police always had your best interests at heart and were above reproach, and you could trust anything they said, even in a court of law, because they had a badge. And now, boy, we know that's not true at all. Their character is their character no matter what they have, and actually badges tend to magnify the worst parts of some people's character. There's an example. We have a cop in this town who's a tailgater. And I saw this cop on the way to town, just 10 foot, this is at 65 miles an hour. 10 foot off the bumper of the car in front of her. Really dangerous. Going 65 miles an hour on a 2-lane road. And that car had traffic in front of him, so it's not like he could go any faster. And now, our little town has about probably a half a mile of interstate that goes through the very edge of our town. And you know what these cops do? They get up on the interstate to shoot radar at, like, there's not enough bad things going on in this town that they can abandon the town and go shoot radar on the interstate. Like people on the interstate have any bearing on the safety and lives of the people in this town. It's just wrong, wrong, wrong. And then you can go to the town's website and pull up a PDF and see how much of their income is derived from fines. And, you know, you could throw out a number like 50,000 thinking, you know, that's an incredibly huge number for a town of 2,100 people. It's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars come from traffic fines. And you know where our traffic court is? Oddly enough, it's the same place you would pay it. I mean, so if you want to take your traffic ticket to court, you're taking it to court to the people that wrote you the ticket. Hilarious. What we've allowed to happen to ourselves. And I'll never forget, this happened to me one time. Very young man. Before I met Charlie, I was pulling a dry box, but I had hazmat in it, and I had a placard, a flammable placard. Well, I pulled over in Alexandria, Louisiana to get a bite to eat. And when I finished, I walked around my truck, kicked my tires, checked everything. And between the time I pulled out of that restaurant parking lot and went about 10 miles, these placards were the kind that fold. So one thing says flammable, then you fold it over, and that thing says poison, and you fold it over again, and it might say, radioactive or whatever, and it has these little metal fingers that hold it down. Well, Louisiana is notorious for bad roads. Well, anyway, a cop pulls me over, and my back placard on the back doors, one of the fingers had broken off, and that placard was blowing, had one side open to flammable, and the other side was blowing around, so it would show flammable, and then it would bounce and show nothing, and bounce and show flammable. Pulled me over. And, I could fix it. I had other placards that I could pull the little finger off and slide it in there and fix it. But he wouldn't let me do that. So he has me open the doors. And sure enough, I have flammable in there, but I also had some laundry soap. And to placard something liquid, it had to be 400 pounds or heavier. You had to placard it. Well, this was a 30-gallon drum of laundry soap. And if you had 400 pounds of it, you would have to placard corrosive as well as flammable. And here's what it didn't have. It had the gallons, but it did not have the weight on the drum. And it was less, I delivered this all the time. It was about 250 pounds. Well, this cop said, well, it's over 400 pounds. I said, well, it's not. You can get up there and lift it. I mean, if I can lift it, it's certainly not 400 pounds. I move these all the time. And he wouldn't get up on the trailer. He said, well, it's over 400 pounds. I said, there's no 30-gallon drum on earth that would be over 400 pounds. And maybe if you had lead in it, but it's clearly a liquid. That cop wrote me a $10,000 ticket for having that liquid laundry soap. And he was giddy. I'm talking like a child getting candy. He was giddy with pleasure that he was able to write that $10,000 ticket. And that was a part of my life when I was beginning to see cops for what they really are. Revenue generators. They're not there for anybody's safety. That's a lie that you will learn the hard way. They're there to ensnare you as often as possible in the, quote, justice system, unquote. Well, anyway, my company was pissed. They weren't pissed at me. I mean, I had a good rapport with that company. That was a company that was going to turn me into a plant manager. And so anyway, they asked me if I would be willing to take it to court. Because when you take it to court, they'll reduce the fine and all that. And they did. But here's what I'm getting to. The court was in Ruston, Louisiana. This happened in Alexandria, Louisiana, halfway to the coast. The court was in Ruston, Louisiana, in a federal building. And what it was a whole bunch of state cops. The same cops that wrote me the ticket. This was my court. I could not believe it. And I even unscrewed the placard and brought it to them and showed it how easy it was for it to break and, how easy it was to repair. And they said, oh, he wrote me a ticket for that too. That's why combined it was $10,000. Well, they dropped that ticket, and they kept the ticket where I didn't have a corrosive placard on for the laundry soap. And I said, I've weighed this, I have a weight ticket here, and it's 250 pounds. It was not 400 pounds, and they wouldn't accept the weight ticket because it wasn't from a scale that they recognized. We had a scale in our warehouse because you had to weigh certain things. You had to mix, some powders you had to mix. You had to mix, 50 pounds of that and 100 pounds of this, or liquid. And we had very accurate scales, but they wouldn't accept it because it wasn't from a scale that they recognized. So they did reduce the fine, but that's when I realized what a freaking joke cops are and what a freaking joke going to court is, especially when it's not a court of your peers. It's a court of their peers. So that was when I started really, really noticing how corrupt cops are, and more corrupt than the average person because they don't have a badge, that lets them get away with incredibly horrendous stuff. Yeah, that was a big ticket. And I think the first shock I got was how happy this cop was that he was writing this ticket. It was really shocking to me that he was standing right there and could feel that the drum was no way 400 pounds. But he saw an opportunity to lie and write a gigantic ticket. So I don't know if they got bonus points or brownie points or why it was so important to him to lie. But he certainly did, and he got pleasure from it. And it was very embarrassing seeing a man entrusted with so much power and authority be so wantonly corrupt and evil. That kind of lying is evil when people entrust you with that level of power. When people entrust you with that level of power and you misuse it, that's shocking and embarrassing. And that was the beginning of me taking notice of just how the world really works. All right, let's give this a look. Okay, there's two. Two at 220. So do you want to watch this one too? You're probably long gone. I'm probably the only one here. Okay, I guess I'll let you off the hook. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and it was nice chatting with you. Have a good Sunday, y'all. Okay, we got 3 knives at 320. 400's my next grit. That's there, and that's it for today. I may shoot my pellet gun a little bit, but otherwise, that's all the work I'm doing today. It's 12:30. That's half a day out here. And, oh, you work so hard. You need a nap from your nap. Let's go home.